pharmacist is taking to fill her son Jordan's prescription, checking for possible interactions, verifying the dosage with his doctor. Kelly Lee just knows Jordan's prescription will be there waiting for her on her way home. Signa Palmer, just one of the 240 skilled and caring pharmacists you'll find at Fred Meyer.
There's a verdict in the Simpson trial, but Judge Ito delays the announcement until tomorrow. Today, the jury asked to hear again the testimony of the limousine driver. Simpson is back in his jail cell tonight. We'll be talking to our experts about this swift decision, what it could mean. Also tonight, airport security at the highest levels in this country after the guilty verdict in the New York terrorist trial.
From NBC News, this is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw.
Good evening to all of you. This is a special West Coast edition of NBC Nightly News, and in Southern California at this hour this evening, the countdown is on to an announcement of the verdict in the O.J. Simpson case, which is now less than 18 hours away. There and everywhere across this country, the speculation is reaching saturation levels. The wholly unexpected news the jury reached the verdict in less than a day took O.J. Simpson by surprise. He's back in his jail cell tonight. We can only imagine what he must be thinking. We will hear the results tomorrow morning. We begin our coverage tonight with NBC's David Bloom in Los Angeles.
The lightning-fast verdict caught everyone by surprise, most especially O.J. Simpson. As he stared toward the jurors, they did not return his gaze. Not a single one. The jury had deliberated less than 4 hours.
Mrs. Robertson advised me that you buzzed 3 times and indicated that after receiving the verdict forms that you have reached a verdict in this case. Is that correct, Madam Foreman?
Yes.
All right.
There were gasps in the hushed courtroom. Attorney Carl Douglas patted his client on the back, mindful that for O.J. Simpson, it will be a very long night.
Madam Foreman, have you signed and dated one set of verdict forms? All right. And those have been placed in an envelope and sealed, correct? All right. Do you have that with you? Did you leave it in the jury room? That's not a good place for it.
It was a brief moment of levity, but it did not break the tension.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are missing, as you can tell, several of the attorneys. Predominantly, we're missing Ms. Clark and Mr. Cochran, and I indicated to the attorneys that I would give them a reasonable opportunity to be here for the announcement of the verdict. And I've indicated to them that I will accept the verdict from you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. That'll give you the opportunity to pack up and take care of those things over back home, as you've called it. And so we will stand in recess until tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.
Outside court, prosecutor Christopher Darden told reporters, "I think I have to believe it. It's happening. Nothing shocks me anymore." But defense attorney Carl Douglas said he was stunned, and Robert Kardashian, Simpson's longtime friend and lawyer, rushed to the jail to be at Simpson's side.
I am absolutely stunned. I'm sorry, I have no idea what is going on.
Are you optimistic?
Always.
What do you want to talk to O.J. about tonight?
We'll find out what he's got to say.
Jurors had deliberated behind this closed door for just over 3 hours this morning when they emerged to rehear the testimony of a key prosecution witness, limousine driver Alan Park, read by a court reporter.
Question, you see that white Bronco in this photograph, sir? Answer, yes. Question, was that white Bronco there at the time you drove by at about 10:22? Answer, I didn't see it.
The limousine driver testified last March that when he showed up at Simpson's estate around the time of the murders, he saw no Bronco, got no answer, until a half hour later when a large black man in dark clothing slipped through the front door. And then Simpson got on the intercom to say he'd overslept and was just getting out of the shower.
So there was no other
Last Friday, Marcia Clark urged jurors to review Park's testimony, saying he was the most important prosecution witness.
That was the defining moment of this trial. That was the one. Because when you understand that the defendant was out that night, when you understand that he lied to Alan Park about being asleep, then you understand how the defense falls apart.
Jurors listened for 50 minutes, said they'd heard enough, asked for the verdict forms, and then moments later told a stunned courtroom they'd reached a decision. David Bloom, NBC News, Los Angeles.
And NBC's George Lewis was in the courtroom at the time that Judge Ito made that announcement. George, all the air must have been sucked out of the room.
It was, Tom. We were all just gasping. Our mouths were open when Judge Ito made that announcement. When the jurors filed in, they sort of looked at the floor and looked at the judge as they sat down. They weren't exactly meeting O.J. Simpson's gaze at all. They were occasionally glancing over in his direction, but not returning his gaze. And then when the judge made his announcement, as David Bloom described, Carl Douglas put his arm around O.J. Simpson's back as if to comfort him, and prosecutor Christopher Darden kind of looked at the floor and just shook his head in disbelief.
It's now been about 3 hours since that announcement was made. Has the climate cooled down there at the courthouse at all?
Well, people are beginning to go home for the evening. I suspect that the principals in this case are not going to be getting a whole heck of a lot of sleep tonight because everybody's going to be on pins and needles waiting for that announcement tomorrow morning.
We were able to see O.J. Simpson, and his face had a look, I suppose, like everyone else would expect it to have. He looked like he was in a state of shock of some kind. Did he gesture or say anything or do anything as he left the courtroom?
Some of the people in the courtroom observed him throwing a pen down, perhaps in disgust. I didn't see that. I was hustled out of the courtroom ahead of some of the others. But for the most part, I would say he was shocked, he was stunned, not quite believing what was going on around him.
And the jurors were dressed today not in their finery, but in casual clothes, as if they had expected to be there for a while.
You're right, Tom. The jury foreperson was wearing a T-shirt with the California State Lottery logo on it. And I'm sure tonight O.J. Simpson is wondering if he's lost or won the lotto of his life.
All right, thanks very much, George Lewis, who was in the courtroom. When we come back, the speculation, in this case, expert speculation from our witnesses and from our experts. What does this all mean?
Ooh, okay, it's a little... Whoa. Short. What's wrong with short? He's short. I like short.
When you're working for a special look.
Hey, it's our anniversary. Oh, why not?
Part of getting that look should include Kellogg's Special K.
Big boy, he can take it.
Great toasted taste, just 110 calories, and fat-free. Kellogg's Special K. Great taste never looks so good.
Too funny.
Tonight at Red Lobster.
We're gonna ooh yeah.
We're gonna yeah. With our 2 dozen shrimp, just $8.99. Roasted shrimp with fresh veggies, plus scampi and fried shrimp. Our 2 dozen shrimp, just $8.99.
Red Lobster tonight. You know what I hate? Pain. That's why I love aspirin cream. When I get minor muscle aches, I just rub it in for fast relief that lasts for hours. And it's odor-free. Why live with pain? You're gonna love it. Aspirin cream does not contain aspirin.
The last one's left the house. It's just the 2 of you now.
It's time for Create a Meal.
It's a great meal without a big hassle. Brown your favorite meat, lay on a hearty measure of Green Giant's fresh-tasting veggies, our delicious Create a Meal sauce, and in 20 minutes, it's dinner, the way it used to be.
It's a fresh solution to dinner. Create a Meal.
Ho, ho, ho.
Green Giant.
To bring you up to date, Judge Lance Ito has announced that tomorrow morning, Pacific time, 10 a.m., 1 p.m. Eastern time, he will read the verdict, which has been reached by the jury in the O.J. Simpson trial. What does this swift decision mean? We're going to ask our panel of experts tonight. Joining me once again, as they have throughout this trial, you can see Jack Ford and Ira Reiner at the top of your screen. At the bottom of the screen on the left is Paul Lisnick, an expert on juries, and Roy Black, an expert in his own way. He's a well-known criminal lawyer from Miami. Let's begin with you, Jack Ford. Swift decision, and they asked only to rehear the testimony of the one man who had no investment in this case, as it were, Alan Park, the limousine driver. What does that mean?
If you're the prosecutors, you're looking at this saying, this might be a real good sign for us. As you heard before, Marcia Clark had said in her comments to the jurors that Alan Park is the defining moment in this trial because he was the one witness who was not refuted by anybody and established for the prosecution that O.J. Simpson was not at home during the period of time that the murders were taking place. You know, traditional wisdom is a quick verdict is a prosecution verdict. Some people were looking at this case saying a quick verdict may well be a defense verdict. I don't know really that anybody can say what it means, but if you try to read into what the jurors were doing, and it's not always accurate at all, oftentimes speculation. If you try to read into what the jurors did here, where they listened to just a portion of Alan Park's testimony, might suggest that you're talking about a guilty verdict. But again, truly, we don't know.
Well, Ira, lots of lawyers, journalists, and defendants have ended up with egg in their face trying to second-guess juries. What's your best call tonight?
Well, you throw everything out the window. All bets are off. You know, if words have any meaning, there were no deliberations in this case. When the jurors retired to the jury room to allegedly deliberate, they had already made up their mind. The only question is, what was their decision? Because they didn't deliberate on it. And who carried the day? Was it Johnny Cochran, who urged the jurors to, excuse me, use their verdict to send a message that the police were corrupt? And as Johnny Cochran said, the only way that you can clean up the police is to acquit Simpson. Did that message carry the day, or was it Chris Darden who said to the jurors, each and every one of them, you know he did it. Everybody knows he did it. What? Well, one of those two messages got through because they didn't have to discuss it among themselves. They just went in and they were ready to vote.
Roy Black, if you were sitting on the defense side of that courtroom, would you be unsettled by the fact that they only asked to hear the testimony once again? The one man who said O.J. Simpson did not appear to be at home during the crucial hours.
Tom, the reason no one's going to be sleeping tonight is because while they asked for Alan Park's testimony, they virtually had no deliberations, as Ira said, and usually a short deliberation means that it's a verdict of not guilty. However, reading Park's testimony and only the direct examination sounds dangerous to the defense. So it's anybody's guess, and this has more twists and turns than any mystery I've ever heard of.
And Paul Wisnick, you're an expert on the arcane science of selecting a jury and then trying to read how they may respond to a case. Were you as stunned as everyone else by the shortness of this deliberation?
Absolutely, Tom. I didn't expect them to deliberate for very, very long, but 5.5 hours pulls up short. I agree with pretty much what Ira and Roy are saying, that this jury went in with its mind made up. And that concerns me, because that suggests where there's some discussion, some things that shouldn't have been going on before they entered that deliberation room.
All right, let's go quickly around the horn if we can. If you want to put yourselves on the record, beginning with you, Jack. Guilty, not guilty, hung jury.
Tom, we know it's at this juncture one of those two, as you said, guilty, not guilty. And truly, as we've all said, nothing would surprise me in this case. I don't have any ability to project what it's going to be. Whatever they say tomorrow will not be a surprise.
Maybe we can save some time here. I gather Ira and Roy and Paul, you would probably take the same stance.
No, I wouldn't, Tom. Let me tell you this. I'm willing to go out on a limb.
Okay.
With 5 hours worth of deliberations, I think that it has to be not guilty.
All right, well, we'll have a chance to check.
I would agree.
Okay.
I would agree. It's
Ira says not guilty. Paul?
I think we may see a conviction, given Alan Park's testimony and the focus on that. I'm surprised.
We'll have a chance to check all of that tomorrow, obviously. We'll be back with more news right after this.
We do less all day than most people do before sunrise. No, this job isn't for everyone, but if you've got what it takes, maybe you can be one of us. The few. The patient.
The lonely.
Maytag. The dependability people.
Pam, look. Phillips has gel caps. Gentle overnight relief in a little gel cap. This is just the thing for your constipation, honey.
Even has a stool softener, huh, Brenda?
Phillips has gel caps.
I'm 62. Can I still help prevent osteoporosis?
It's never too late for Caltrate. Caltrate Plus has the extra calcium you need, plus 6 nutrients essential for healthy bones, whatever your age.
It's never too late for Caltrate.
Bayer, powerful pain relief, and so much more.
The end of another long trial in America has triggered a national security alert at the nation's airports. The order went out after the same day that militant Muslims were found guilty in the terrorist case growing out of the bombing of New York's World Trade Center. More tonight from NBC's Robert Hager.
More than 1 million travelers endured the latest crackdown at airports today. In Boston, precautions against car bombs. 2,500 parking spaces closest to terminals closed down. and larger vehicles banished to the airport's outskirts.
Any vans or trucks or vehicles with covered backs will be not allowed into any of the parking lots and will be told to park in a special outdoor parking lot.
In Philadelphia, passengers were asked for photo identification and then some.
They asked me for my marriage license because we just got married and they needed proof of my new name.
Everybody on board's bags will be traveling with them. Bags will not go unless the passenger has actually boarded the aircraft.
In Atlanta, bomb-sniffing dogs deployed and questions asked.
Have any unknown person approach you and ask you to carry anything on this aircraft? No. All the contents of your bags are yours?
Yes. All this after Sunday's convictions of Sheikh Abdul Rahman and 9 other terrorists. The FBI's Weldon Kennedy.
We have a great degree, a great heightening of concern that there may be some form or some attempt to retaliate for these convictions.
Presidential spokesman Michael McCurry also mentioned the coming visit of Pope John Paul and the current visit of Egyptian President Mubarak. In front of the White House today, even pedestrians were barred from Pennsylvania Avenue. And in New York, security heightened at tunnels and bridges, police checking some trucks for contents. But the steps were most noticeable at airports, where the government has 4 levels of security. Last August, level 2 was ordered. Now it's to be level 3 by Wednesday at latest. But that's still not as high as level 4, instituted during the Persian Gulf War. No word how long the new security will remain in effect, but airlines hope it can be relaxed before the height of the holiday travel season in November and December. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
And there's another hurricane to keep an eye on during this busy storm season. This one is called Opal. It could threaten the U.S. later this week. Opal is sitting in the Gulf of Mexico tonight, dumping heavy rains and forcing thousands from their homes in Mexico. The storm is expected to turn north, and it could threaten the U.S. Gulf Coast. On Wall Street, the Dow was down today in heavy trading. The NASDAQ was down as well. When we come back, NBC News in depth tonight. A big stride in the race for a cure for cancer, a $100 million gift from a man on a mission.
Nobody does it like you, the way that you do. Nobody's got the power to please me. Nobody does it like you, puts it all together better to make it easy. Nobody does it like you, Hoover. Nobody does it like you.
You know what I hate? Pain. That's why I love Aspercream. When I get minor muscle aches, I just rub it in for fast relief that lasts for hours. And it's odor-free. Why live with pain? You're gonna love it. Aspercream does not contain aspirin.
We like prunes. We adore prunes. So sweet and tender. I see. It's a matter of taste. I love when you're flexible.
California prunes. Let your mouth make your mind up.
It's the Olive Garden's never-ending pasta bowl. Choose your favorite pasta from our special menu, then manja. Enjoy as many free refills as you want with free soup or salad and breadsticks. The never-ending pasta bowl, just $6.95 for a short time at the Olive Garden.
Mortgage payments, college tuition, career choices. People can get so lost in their day-to-day concerns that they simply avoid planning for their retirement. Unfortunately, that's life. New York Life has all kinds of life insurance policies to help make sure you enjoy your retirement. We can even help you catch up if you started planning late. That's New York Life, the company you keep.
Fibercon or Metamucil? Both give you the same predictable regularity, the same natural action of fiber. So what makes Fibercon different? With Fibercon, I get my fiber in 2 caplets. Fibercon, fiber regularity that's easier to take.
Tonight on The Tonight Show, Jay welcomes Bette Midler, plus headlines.
Miss Congeniality acquitted.
Followed by an all-new Conan, NBC Tonight.
NBC News in depth tonight, the biggest ever gift to medical research, and the man who gave it. His name is John Huntsman. The contribution, $100 million to help find a cure for cancer. Part of that money will go toward creating a new research and treatment facility at the Huntsman Cancer Institute at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. Tonight, an in-depth look at the gift the giver, and what it means to cancer research. NBC's Roger O'Neill.
John Huntsman knows all about cancer.
Play every angle you can.
After 3 bouts with the disease in his prostate and in his mouth, he is in remission. But his personal fight has now escalated to an all-out war, and he's using his personal fortune to help pay for it.
If our scientists, our geneticists make the breakthroughs we think that they will, and make the advances that we anticipate, they'll get another 100 million, and then another 100 million.
It is in genetic research where Huntsman is convinced scientists will find the cure for cancer. His first 100 million to the University of Utah will fund an expanded investigation of how cancer passes from generation to generation. Utah is the perfect place for this kind of research.
Among the estimated 2 billion names in the Family History Library here in Salt Lake City is the most complete record anywhere of members of the LDS Church. Mormon leader Brigham Young is here, dying in 1877 of cholera. It is these genealogical records which researchers are now using to try and find new clues to the cancer mystery.
The disease has haunted John Huntsman's family. It's what motivates him now.
Mother died at a very young age. I happened to be holding her in my arms, and Dad went through years and years of suffering with cancer.
Huntsman is a billionaire, but he doesn't fit the mold. He drives himself to work. He could live anywhere.
It's a very peaceful part of the world.
And as a Mormon, being close to his church is important. It's from here in Salt Lake, where he runs one of the largest chemical companies in the world.
Jenny, come on in. Give me a rundown.
Huntsman Chemical, plastics, with 81 plants in 23 countries, with revenues of $5 billion. And it's all privately owned by the Huntsman family. Until today, privacy was something this 58-year-old businessman cherished.
It would have been a lot easier just to slip a check under the door and run.
But Huntsman knows his money will not be enough. He's counting on friends and business associates who donated another $51 million today to join his crusade.
We must find a cure for cancer.
What is it inside of you that drives you to try and help people you don't know?
Heaven knows when you see a young mother with 3 or 4 children in her 30s die, as several of our friends have done, and it's just something that cannot be tolerated. Our family's prepared to continue to give more and more and more until we don't have anything left. We started with nothing, and if that's our legacy in life, thank God for that.
For John Huntsman, a down payment on hope for his family and for millions of other families he will never know. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Salt Lake City.
And this footnote tonight, another major contribution today, Michael Bloomberg, who has made a fortune in publishing and broadcasting business information, gave his alma mater, Johns Hopkins University, $55 million. Time now for our nightly update on Medicare and what's been going on in Congress. House Democrats today walked out of a committee hearing on the Republican plan to save $270 billion in Medicare costs over 7 years. They called the GOP's plan, quote, a charade. Meanwhile, Senate Democrats today finally unveiled their Medicare reform plan, a total of $89 billion in savings. They call that the sensible solution. We have more news about health tonight, an annual report card on kids in this country. It says they smoked more cigarettes, used more drugs, were fatter, and got less exercise this year than last year, prompting a grade of D after last year's C-. A separate study says the percentage of overweight kids has doubled in the last 30 years, increasing the risk for many diseases, including cancer. Back in a moment.
The most precious thing is time. Time with my kids. Time to have fun together. But when I'm irregular, it's not much fun for me or my kids. I can't take a harsh chemical laxative and then get trapped on one of those rides. So I take Metamucil natural fiber therapy. It works with my body safely, gently. Gives me the fiber I need to get regular and stay regular. Thanks to Metamucil, I'm having as much fun as my kids. Sometimes more.
Metamucil, the natural choice for regularity.
Presenting Casey. Pound for pound, he uses more energy than most dogs twice his size. That's why we make Mighty Dog. It has the perfect balance of nutrients he needs. It makes your dog a mighty dog.
You know, in Shamokin, Pennsylvania, Jones Ace Hardware has been helping folks for 4 generations. And at your local Ace Hardware, you'll always find a little help at some big savings. That's why Ace is a place for the helpful hardware folks.
Oh, that cat's got the life. Now she's got this state-of-the-art scoop-away litter that clumps where she wets. They scoop away the clump, bam, the box is fresh and clean. All I get is a rusty hydrant.
Scoop Away, the litter that's day one clean every day.
Raymond, you look constipated.
Here we go.
You should take Phillips Milk of Magnesia.
Says who?
For gentle overnight relief, doctors say they'd take Phillips Milk of Magnesia most. Raymond.
Told you.
Phillips, doctors know best.
Oh, I can't believe you're back so soon. Tell me about it. Knee surgery is not my idea of fun. You in pain? Not now. My doctor gave me Tylenol, extra strength. Boy, Tylenol works on that kind of pain? Here I am.
More than aspirin, more than ibuprofen. From post-surgical pain to headaches, doctors recommend Tylenol the most.
Good run, huh? Yeah, not bad. It's not over.
Oh, man.
Come on.
She survived a brutal attack to bring a madman to justice. Mary Lou Henner, Frasier's Perry Gilpin, and Melrose Place's Doug Savant in Fight for Justice, NBC tonight.
Even before the announcement of the verdict, when testimony and closing arguments ended and the jury in the Simpson trial went behind closed doors, Southern California did not go back to business as usual. It simply entered a new Simpson zone, the time of anticipation, expectation, and now high anxiety. Here's NBC's Kelly O'Donnell.
For the city of Los Angeles, the only thing left to do is wait. Gone is the media gauntlet that ushered Johnny Cochran into court Friday.
He's feeling pretty good.
Day one of deliberations looks different. A clear shot for any camera. And in the community, the focus is on calm.
It's time for healing. Everybody here knows it. Nobody wants violence.
I have no doubt in my mind that everything's going to be okay once the verdict is released.
At Sunday services in South Central L.A., Reverend Cecil Murray asks his congregation to weigh the facts themselves in favor of cool-headed reason.
We can't wrap up until we make up.
On the air today.
The subject, the obvious one. O.J. Simpson.
Talk radio callers already formed an opinion.
I think he will walk. I don't think he should. My personal opinion, I think he is guilty.
Should O.J. go free?
I think you should go free. You ain't got enough evidence on it.
At the Men's Central Jail, Robert Kardashian visited Simpson, who for the first time in months spent the morning of an official court day in his cell, while police have a security plan for verdict day ready to go.
We are taking a low-key approach to this. We don't anticipate that we'll be having any problems.
At an L.A. newsstand, a rush on the tabloid paper that somehow obtained and printed actual crime scene evidence photos of the victims. But here, there was no rush, no speculation about the jury. At the grave of Ronald Goldman, a visitor. For Nicole Brown Simpson, fresh flowers placed this morning.
With the jury's work over so quickly, the wait continues until tomorrow morning. The courthouse is blocked off, security increased, and access limited.
Los Angeles is deliberating outside the courtroom, too, about how to respond and move on when the verdict is read. Kelly O'Donnell, NBC News, Los Angeles.
That is Nightly News for now. NBC News will have full and continuing coverage of this memorable event, beginning with today. Brian and Katie in Los Angeles tomorrow morning. I'll see you at 9 a.m., the hour leading up to the verdict and beyond.